Hi, my name is Anna, and I'm going to read the chapter number 5, The Little House. Everybody has heard of the little house in the Kensington Gardens, which is the only house in the whole world that the fairies have built for humans. But no one has really seen it, except just 3 or 4, and they have not only seen it, but lived in it. And unless you live in it, you never see it. This is because it's not there when you lie down, but it's there when you wake up and step outside. In a kind of a way, everyone may see it, but what you see is not really, but, but only the light in the windows. You see the light after lookout time. David, for instance, saw it quite distinctly far away among the trees as we were going home from the pantomime, and Oliver Bailey saw it the night he stayed so late at the Temple, which is the name of his father's office. Angela Clare, who loves to have a two strike because then she treat to tea in a shop, saw more than one light. She saw hundreds of them all together, and this must have been the fairies building the house, for they built every night, and always in a different part of the gardens. She threw one of the lights was bigger than the other. True, she was not quite sure, for they jumped about so, and it might have been another one that was bigger. But, but if it was the same one, it was Peter's Pan's light. Heaps of children have seen the light, so that is nothing. But Mamie Mannering was the famous one for whom the house was for built. Mamie was always rather a strange girl, and it was a night that she was strange. She was 4 years of age, and in the daytime she was the ordinary kind. She was pleased when her brother Tony, who was a magnificent fellow of 6, took notice of her, and she looked up to him in the right way, and tried in vain to imitate him, and was flattered rather than annoyed when he shoved her about. Also, when she was bathing, she would pass through the ball was in the air to point out to you that she was wearing new shoes. She was quite the ordinary kind in the daytime, but as the shade of nightfall fell, Tony, the sweater, lost his contempt for Mamie and eyed her fearfully, and no wonder, for with that trick came into her face a look that I can describe only as a lyric look. It was also a serene look that contrasted cruelly with Tony's uneasy glances. Then he would make her present of his favorite toys, which he always took away from her next morning, and she accepted them with a disturbing smile. The reason he was now become so willing and she so mystery was that they knew they were about to be sent to bed. It was then that Mamie was terrible. Tony entreated her not to do it tonight, and the mother and the color nurses threatened her. But Mamie merely smiled her a gaping smile, and by, when they were alone with their nightlight, she would apart start up in bed crying. Shh! What was that? Tiny vicious hair. It was nothing. Don't, Mamie, don't. And pulls the sheet over his head. It is coming nearer, she cries. Oh, look at it, Tony. It is filling your bed with horns. It is burning for you. Oh, Tony, oh. And she decided not until the rushes downstairs in his combination, screeching. When they came up, to when Mimi, they usually found her sleeping tranquil. Not shaming, but really sleeping and looking like the sweetest little angel, which seems to me to make it more worse. But of course, it was daytime when they were in the gardens, and then Tony did most of the talking. You could get it from his talk that he was a very brave boy, and no one was proud of it is Mamie. She would have loved to have a ticket on her saying that she was his sister, and at no time did she admire him more than when he told her, as he often did with splendid vehemence, that one day he meant to remain behind in the garden after the gates were closed. "Oh, Tony," she would say with awful respect, "but the fairies will be so angry." "I dare say," replied Tony carelessly. "Perhaps," she said, thrilling, "Peter Pan will give you a sail in his boat." "I shall make him," replied Tony. No wonder she was proud of him. But they shouldn't have talked too loudly, for one day they were overheard by a fairy who had been getting skeleton lifts, for which the little people waved their summer curtains. And after that Tony was a mere boy, they loosened the rods before he sat on them, so that down he came on the back of his head. They tripped him up by catching his bootlace and bribed the dogs to sing his boat. Nearly in the nasty accident you meet with when you are taken taken an ill will to you, and so it behoves you to be careful what you say about them. Mamie was one of the kind who liked to fix a day for doing things, but Tony was not the kind, and when she asked him which day he was to remain behind in the gardens after a lookout, he merely replied, "Just some day." He was quite vague about which day except when she asked, "Will it be today?" And then he could always say for certain that it will not be today. So she saw that he was waiting for a real good chance. This brings us to an afternoon when the gardens were white with snow and there was ice on the brown pond. Nothing enough to skate on, but at least you could spoil it for tomorrow by flinging stones, and many bright little boys and girls were doing that. When Tony and his sister arrived, they wanted to go straight to the pond, but they say they must take a sharp walk first. And as she said this, she glanced at the time board to see when the gardens closed at night. It read past, it read 5:30. Poor AA. She isn't the she is the one who loves continually because there are so many white children in the world. But she was not to laugh much more that day. Well, they went up the baby walk and back, and when they returned to the time board, she was surprised to see that it now read 5 o'clock for closing time. But she was not content with the tricky ways of the fairies, and so didn't see that they had changed the hour because there was to be a ball tonight. She said there was only time not to walk on the top of the home and back. And as they trod along with her, she little guessed what was thrilling their little breeds. You see the chins had come of seem a very bold. Never Tony felt. Could he hope for a better chance? He had to feel this for Mamie so plainly, plainly felt for him. Her eager eyes asked the questions. It is today? And he gasped and then nodded. Mamie slipped her hand into Tony's, and her hair was hot, but he was cold. She did a very kind thing. She took off her scarf and gave it to him. In case you should feel cold, she whispered. Her face was aglow, but Tony's was very gloomy. As they turned on the top of the home, he whispered to her, I'm afraid nurse will see me, so I shouldn't be able to do it. Mamie admired him more than ever for being afraid of nothing but they ate. When there were so many unknown terrors to fear, and she said aloud, Johnny, I shall raise you to the gate. And I whispered, then you can hide. And up they run. Johnny could always outdistance her easily, but never had she known him spay away so quickly as now. And she was sure he hurried, he might have more time to hide. Brave, brave. Her dirty eyes were crying when she got a dreadful shock. Instead of hitting her hero had run out at the gate. At this British sight, Maggie stopped blankly, as if all her laps full of darling treasures were suddenly split. And then for very dizzying, she could not stop. In as well of protest again a pulling cover she ran to cover covers well and hidden Tony's state. When the air reached the gate and saw Tony firing from she threw her other chair was with him passed out. Twilight crept over the gardens, and hundreds of people passed out, including the last one, who always had to run for it, but Mamie saw them not. She had shut her eyes tight and glued them with passion tears. When she opened them, sometimes very cold ran up her legs and up her arms and dropped into her heart. It was the stillness of the gardens. Then she heard clang, then for another part clang, then clang far away. It was the closing of the gates. Immediately, the last clang had died away. Mamie distinctly heard a voice say, so that's all right. It had a wooden sound and it seemed to come from above, and she looked up in the time to see an old tree stretching out its arms and yawning. She was about to say, I never knew you could speak, when a metallic voice seemed to come from the ladle of the well remade to the elm. I suppose it is a bit coldish up there? And the elm replied, no particularly, but you don't get numb since a long one on one leg. And he flapped his arms vigorously just as the cabmen do before they drive off. Mimi was quite surprised to see that a number of other tall trees were doing the same sort of thing, and she tore away to the baby walk and crouched observantly under a miniature holly which shrunk its shoulders but did not seem to mind her. She was now in the last cold. She was wearing a rosy-colored pelisse and had the hood over her head, so that nothing of her showed except her dear little face and her curls. The rest of her real self was hidden far away inside so many warm garments that in shape that shape, she seemed rather like a bull. She was about 40 round the waist. There was a good deal going on in the baby walk, where Mimi arrived in time to see a Mongolian and Persian lilac step over the railing instead of for a smart walk. They moved in a jerky sort of a way silently, but that was because they used crutches, and Elleberry hobbled across the walk and stood chatting with some young kids, and they all had crutches. The crutches were the sticks that are tied to young trees and shrubs. They were quite familiar objects to Mimi, but she had never known what they were for until tonight. She picked up the walk and saw her first fairy. He was a street boy fairy who was running up the walk closing the weeping trees. The way he did it was this. He pressed a spring in the trunks and they shot like umbrellas. Looking at the little plants being with no. Oh, you naughty, naughty child, made me cry indignantly, for she knew what it was to have a dripping umbrella about your ears. Finally, the mischievous field was out of earshot, but Chris moved her hair and so pointedly, hoity-toity, what is this? That she had to come out and show herself. Then the whole vegetable kingdom was very puzzled what to do. Of course, it is not a affair of ours, a spiritual treat, say after they had whispered together. But you know quite well you ought not be here, and perhaps our duty is to report you to the fairies. What did you think yourself? I think you shouldn't not, Mimi replied, which so perplexed them that they say petulantly there was no arguing with her. I wouldn't ask you if you, she assured them, if a true is wrong. And of course, after this they could not but carry tales. Then they then say, well a day, and such is his life, for they can be frightfully sarcastic. But she felt sorry for those of them who had no crutches, and she said good naturally, before I go to the fairies, but I should like to take you for a walk one at a time. You can lean on me, you know. At this they clapped their hands and she escorted them up the baby walk and back again, one at a time, putting an arm or a finger around the very frail, steering their leg right when it got too ridiculous, and treating to the French ones quite as constantly as the English. True, she couldn't understand the words they say. They behaved well on the whole. Through some whimpered that she had not taken them as far as she took Nancy or Grace or Dorothy. Another Jacker. Brie was quite unintentional, and she was too much of a lady to cry out. So much walking and try hair, and she was anxious to be off to the ball, but she no longer felt afraid.